Starting stream a little early. Let's see if the stream starts. Yes, the stream did start. Hello. Oh, there you are. Hi, how are you doing? Working on my little sandbox thing today. Normally you'd see a ground there, but right now it's invisible because I'm in the middle of updating the model rendering so that I can actually draw textured stuff. And because the ground doesn't have a texture right now, I can't draw it. So, and I also didn't really finish the texturing for the cubes anyway. So I need to try to do that today. So I have two objectives: get the ground to reappear, and then actually use this texture that I have over here, which you may recognize. Um, use that with the cubes that I have. So this being just a sandbox project, so I can play around with wgpu for the graphics, egui for these GUI elements, and rapier for the physics engine. I had to think about it for a second, didn't I? All right, let me re-enable the ground stuff to see, try to figure out what the issue was here. I didn't think that inserting the ground model without the ground instance would be a problem. Oh, here's the problem, right? The fact that we have a collider in the world. Oh, and I did insert the model instance. There it was. So it's maybe this one. So we have the ground model, but we don't insert the instance for it. Why do we have an add instance again? Is that just... Oh, right. That's just to reserve space for the vertex uniforms. That's why it didn't work before. Okay. This will probably work now. Or work as in not crash. Cool. So, as you might expect, if I actually comment out the inserting the collider into the physics world, then not only is the ground going to be invisible, but you can't actually collide with it anymore, and our cubes just fall everywhere. And there is no ground. Okay. Goal being to actually have a ground that we can see. Let's fix the panic we were getting. It had to do with like not binding a texture for the ground, even though the pipeline was set up to use one. And I'd kind of like to make it optional if we can. This in the render pass, with a certain render encoder, in a draw command, pipeline layout contains a bind group layout at index 0, which is incompatible with the bind group layout associated with the bind group at 0. I wonder if that's because there is a old bind group there. It's like maybe has to do with the egui stuff. Hey there, Endorn. You're the first. You are the first chatter of the day. Or the evening for you. First, Pog, champ. You're the first champ. Okay. That has to do with the fact that the ground has no texture. So, like, when we make the ground, we give it some image for the texture, but when we make the ground, we don't. So what happens there is this image file contents, it'll skip this whole thing, so it won't create a texture or a view or a sampler, and it won't create the bind group. So I wonder what happens if we make a bind group with these entries, and we just make the entries empty. What if I do that? Let's see what happens. It would be if I get a none. So what do I do here? Oh, it would be like an or. or else, I guess. And then we'll just make the entries empty. Let's see what happens. Expected option found it. Okay, so that would be sum. So now we have a bind group, but it's just empty. What, do I get a different kind of panic? It's almost 4. So it's not quite evening. It's afternoon. I did start a little early, didn't I? I started a whole like 10 minutes early. Number of bindings in bind group does not match the number of bindings defined in the layout, which is 2. Okay. So we have to have 2 entries. But can I like have like an empty entry or something? Like a null entry? Like, is there another kind of binding resource? Buffer, buffer array sampler, sampler texture view. I guess I can't. So I have to have some kind of sampler. I mean, in OpenGL, you could just make the buffer be 0 and it just like doesn't matter. But I guess in in wgpu, web GPU, it matters. So I literally have no texture viewer sampler if I don't have a texture. So what does that mean? Should I have I should have 2 different bind group layouts, really, right? So cross that out. Huh. Didn't know I would have these warnings here. Okay. Where do I set the bind group layout? That was in the render new, right? Texture bind group layout. What if I had 2 of them? Then I need 2 render pipeline layouts, right? One with a tech with a texture bind group layout and one without. Does that mean I need to have 2 render pipelines? 2 different render pipelines, right? So where's the render pipeline used? Is that raw? Yes, we do set pipeline. Okay, so I need 2 different pipelines. One for if we have a texture and one if we don't. Okay. So let's call this one texture bind group layout with texture. Oh, not this one. We leave that one alone, right? It's the render pipeline layout. Render pipeline layout is if that's only used once, then I could put this into like another function. So find all references. Yeah, okay. So let's refactor this. It's already big anyway. Let's do it. So we'll have we'll be passing in the shader, right? And the texture bind group layout. That's fine. So refactor function with a fun name. Our fun name will be make render pipeline with texture. Close that one. This one is called surface config, right? Configuration. Surface configuration. borrowed, borrowed, borrow the shader. Yeah, these wgpus don't need to be here, right? Because I can just import them, because these are all wgpu specific. So there's no reason for me to not qualify it. Hey there, Ollie1. You're number 2 chatter in the stream today. The second chatter. Okay, so that already is a borrow. And these are all borrowed already. So there's a bit of redundancy, right? Because I'm going to end up using the same shader. And the same primitive. I'm going to use a lot of the same things. The only thing that's going to be different is the layout. So wouldn't it be better to like have this be a common function? I think so. Let's do it. Refactor this part to another function with another fun name. So what's that fun name going to be? Make render pipeline. Cool. Ivan the Raging Python. Hello, you are the 3rd chatter. Develop it. Hello, you are the 4th chatter, but now you are a lurker. Stream elements. You don't count. You're a bot. Right, so my idea was to make 2 pipelines. One with the texture bind group layout and one without. So this is no texture, and this is with texture. Without. This should be borrowed surface configuration. I don't know why it can't figure that type out for some reason. A borrowed and a borrowed. Right, so we don't need a surface bind layout. Of course we don't. Okay, so then where's the other warning? It already is a borrow. Right, so then when we make one, let's make 2. So hold on. This is render pipeline with texture. And then we'll make one without. Without. So rename this one with texture. Make another one without. So far, so good. So without texture, no texture bind group layout. And then we just need to add this to it. Cool. Now we have to just use the correct one. So that would be in the render, right? Render, 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 draw. This one. So which pipeline we use depends if we have a texture or not. We know if we have a texture or not because the model, right? The model will tell us. The texture stuff will be empty. Good morning, Nightshade, dude. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You are the 5th chatter this morning. Or number 5. Yeah, back to render. So here, we'd say if model.texture stuff is some. Do that, otherwise do that. Actually, this can be brought out. there, and then we can just borrow without texture. That. Aha, so then this can be actually replacing. Oh, then I have to move this back in, don't I? That goes back into both. Yes, kitty. What do you want, kitty? The cat's yelling at me. But do we start from 1 or we start from 0 with cat? No, this is a Lua friendly stream, Endor, and we start from 1. Were people not indexes? Okay, well, how would I know? I just see text with colored names showing up. Like I didn't know you were. Sorry, I didn't know you were actual people. At least it's not Julia friendly. Spoof, hi, how are you doing? You're number 6. So, what would a Julia friendly stream start with? A negative one? Hey there, Ramy. I still haven't gotten to your to review your stuff yet, cause I had a totally full day yesterday. I had to go to work, and then I had to eat when I got home, and then I had World of Warcraft, and then I had to sleep. So I had like 0 free time. I'll get to it, Ramy, I promise. Hopefully today, because I don't have World of Warcraft today, so that means after work I should have like a couple hours I can look at stuff. Okay, so if we have texture stuff, which needs a better name, although kind of that kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Texture stuff. We have texture stuff. Then we set the pipeline with the texture, and we set a bind group. If we have no texture stuff, we set a pipeline without a texture. If I did this right, the ground will reappear. Text your stuff. Yeah, exactly. Text your stuff to Minecraft. Texture. Oh, although we're not using the texture yet. So, hey, look, the ground is back. Yay, we have a ground. Okay, so the last step now is that if we actually have texture stuff, that we use it in the shader. So, I do need to add a few more things, right? Because I already know that I'm missing the UV coordinates for all of these points, right? We have to tell the fragment shader what to pull from the texture. So that is going to have to come from us, which means it has to go through the vertex shader, which means it has to be a vertex attribute. So let's find our vertex attribute and update it. Here we go. So we have position, we have color. So this is if we don't have a texture, what color to draw. So for the ground, we'll have like green go through this attribute, right? So I think I need 2 more things. I need to like have a Boolean like use texture. And I don't know if I can use a bool. Maybe I end up just using a U32. It's a 0 or 1. But let's use bool and see if we can get away with it. Rip encoder when spawning this QC. Yeah, I know. Really friendly stream would just miscompile all the time. So I would just pick a random number. Hey, your chatter number 1,272 right now. And then your chatter 950. The encoder's loving those cube explosions. Well, maybe it'll get better. Would it get better with Minecraft grass block explosions? We'll have to see. So yeah, I have a hard stop today. I have a meeting at 9 exactly. So I need to stop at like 8:30, 8:45 at the latest to give me time to set up my work computer and get on that call. Hey there, Moscowish. How are you doing? Okay. See ya, lurker, formerly chatter, and always artist Ramy. You can't unlurk someone else, Endorn. That's not how it works. Okay, so let's put that after there, and maybe put it at the end because I'm nervous about putting a bool in between 2 vectors. So the texture would be texture coordinates. So we only need 2 of them, right? 2. Actually, I'm going to move this one to the uniforms. Vertex uniforms, not the kind that you wear, but the kind that stay the same for the whole instance, because the whole instance we'll use the same value for this variable. Okay, so that means I need to add another slot here. And let's see if we can do a bool or if we have to do a U32 or something. So this would be the offset's 4 times that. And can I use offset of? That would be cool if I could use offset of. Do I use offset of? Oh, I do. Cool. Let's use offset of. So that would be offset of vertex. What did I call it? Instance uniforms. Use texture. Okay, shader location. So it's 2 plus 4, that's going to be 6. So it's unfortunate, but I had to hard code these in here because the, I think it was that the instance uniforms share locations with the vertex attributes. You know, it'd be better if we had a constant that we used here. Let's do it. So let's say this is num vertex attributes. Plots. Or I could call it like vertex instance uniform shader location start, which would be an even longer name. This would be this plus 4. Okay, I kind of want to put it with the vertex attributes. So that's here, right? So then I would say const. That is a what type we dealing with here. Shader location is a what? U32. U32 equals 3 because I'm adding 1. Look how sneaky I was. It was a 2, but now it's a 3. Is that the nightly only offset of, or is it from a crate? It is from a crate, I think. It is from the mem offset crate. I had like a little to-do to see can we use the one in the standard library, and conclusion was no because it's still in the nightly, not in the stable build yet. Hold on a second. I muted the mic so you wouldn't hear my ugly hacking of bad sounds while I clear my throat. It's also not const, which is unfortunate. Yeah, we'd have a problem here because this has to be const. Okay. Const is kind of cool in Rust. What that means is that this function can be run to get a certain value at compile time. So we actually never run this function at runtime, I think. What the compiler does is it runs it once during compile time, and it takes this object and it kind of like just makes it a constant global variable. In order to do that, of course, you have to have the function not have any side effects, right? And it can't mutate stuff, so it has to be completely like you get the same vertex buffer layout no matter how many times you call it or whatever. Standard offset of should be constant, you're pretty sure, but you haven't decided on the syntax for it yet. That's why it's still unstable. So yeah, I'm perfectly fine letting the really smart Rust people figure that out. And in the meantime, I'll use the mem offset crate. Is this Haskell? No, this is Rust. Oh, Kappa. What's Haskell about it? Is Haskell like all constant functions? It's on my list of things to learn. So, oh, we can't use bool because BiteMuck doesn't like it. It uses 207 other types, but bool isn't one of them. Aw. Oh, Haskell has no side effects. It's kind of like a noble goal to achieve to have functions with no side effects because functions with no side effects are a lot easier to test. Don't need to worry about those hidden Just hidden associations, right? It's just input goes to output. Pool isn't a pod because only 0 and 1 are allowed. Aw, okay, we'll use a U32 because I'm mad. So the format is just float 32. I probably have a problem with the format here anyway, right? Like, there's probably no bool. Yeah, I don't see bool in there, do you? Closest I could use, I guess, would be uint 8x2. So there's really no like uint 8x1. This is for so wait, it's, like there's no float. There's a float. One single precision float. Or one unsigned int. That's actually what I want, right? I don't want no float. We don't float down here. It's either 0 or 1. Use a U37 because why not? If only it worked. Or as I was telling Rami the other day, signed int 32 or signed int 15 because a 16-bit 16-bit signed is really only 15 bits plus the sign. Okay, so that puts use texture in there. I need to describe the actual texture coordinates here. So that's another attribute here at location 2. And that's just a float 32 by 2. Okay, so that's going to break all of my models. Let's do the ground because it's easier. So for all of these, we're just going to, we have to put something in here, unfortunately. Is it again, is it just texture? We had to put something in there, but we can just like leave it at 0. Okay. For the cube, though, it's very important that I get this right. So I got to remember, what's my coordinate system here? X-axis goes to the right. Y-axis goes up. Z-axis goes back. So this is the back, left, bottom. Back, left, bottom. So what's back, left, bottom on our grass? I'm going to say it's that position right there. So that's, instead of XY, it's ST, right? So S of 0, T of 0.75. Okay, next. We got right, it's back, right, bottom. Back, right, bottom. Oh, wait, the other one was back too, right? Back is up here, so that's 0.5. 0.75. Back right bottom would be up here, so that's 0.25, 0.7, 0.5. 0.25, 0.5. There we go. Well, we're gonna do this one texel at a time. So this one's back right top. Back right top. Back right top would be, I don't know. Which way are we envisioning this folding? I guess I was envisioning this folding the wrong way, actually. Maybe we're looking at it. Let's say we're looking at it from the bottom. Then this is the front edge, and that's the back edge, right? Because it's like I've turned it that way. So then, actually, my t coordinates are 0.75 after all. Had those correct before. Fix them. So the back right top would be that right there, right? Uh-oh, the cat's doing nefarious things. Hold on. Gotta turn off the screen for a sec so I can get the cat from... I think the cat's messing with my 3D printer. Hold on. She will pay the penalty of saying hello to chat. She got behind the green screen and was messing with my 3D printer. The shame, the highlight of shame. Wonder how WGPU guarantees memory safety if you had to manually specify the memory layouts like that. It doesn't. I think it just expects you to provide that guarantee. Because I know why. Because these are offsets into the GPU memory, not the CPU memory. Rust only guarantees memory safety for the CPU. It doesn't guarantee GPU memory safety. So yeah, this might reach into the wrong address in the GPU, or maybe there's some like checking, like validation, like Muscabish is saying. Okay, so before the cat rudely interrupted me, or was I? This one right here, right? So back right top, back right top. There are actually multiple points it could be. Oh, you know what? There's a problem here. These vertices are the same vertex but different texture coordinates, so I can't use the same index anymore. We're gonna have to make triangles that don't share indices. The faces can't share indices. The faces can't share all their indices anymore, can they? Yeah, that's the problem. So right here, I was like sharing like index 0 between the top and the left. I can't do that anymore. Wait, why is the top using a y coordinate of -1? That's the bottom. That's not the top. I don't think this is actually the top. So maybe I need to redo all this anyway. There's what the spec has to say. Malicious use. Let's see, what does it say? It's non-normative. That means it is informative. It means it is not part of the strict part of the spec. Undefined behavior in order to discourage insecure usage. Range of allowed behaviors is defined for any input. Well, like any spec, it just keeps going and going, and I don't have no time to read it. Then the top of the code. Top of the code, yeah, but not the top of the cube. I think I know what I want to do now. I'm just going to go from top to bottom, left to right, and those are going to be the vertices. And then how we assemble the triangles out of that, we'll figure that out later. So this means this top one, if this is the bottom face, this is the front face. Front, bottom, back, right, top, left. So this is the front. So all of the z coordinates will be -1 for this. So this first one will be front, left, top. Front, left, top. Front is -1. Can't type negative. Okay. Front, left, top. And the texture for that is 0.25. Next one is front, right, top. Front, right, top. Front, right, top. So that's 0.25, 0.25. Right there. And then the next index is here. That's front left bottom. Front left bottom. Front left bottom. All negatives. Coordinates are 0 and 0.5. Okay. Next. Front right bottom. Front right bottom. So front right bottom. Texture coordinate is 0.25.5. So I don't get confused, let me delete all the old vertex attribute, all the other vertices, and we'll just clone the previous one for the next one. So the next one is over here. So that is this is the right face, right? So that's top. It's the same position as this, right? Which is front right top again, but with a different texture coordinate. Front right top. So it's the same position as the second one. This one should be the same. Yeah, front right top, but it's got a different texture coordinate, right? This texture coordinate is 0.5.5. Okay, we'll do this slowly and carefully so I don't screw it up. The next one is out here, right? So that's on the top face, and it wraps around to here, doesn't it? If that position was like folds into that, then this one wraps over to this side, doesn't it? Here's where I kind of need to actually make a cube and unfold it in front of me. I think that's right, because if that's the right side, that's the left side. This folds around to that point there. That point must be up here. So this point over here must go over to here. That's front left top. Front left top. Only its texture coordinates is 0.75.5. So then this one is the same as the third point, only it's way to the right. So that would be front left bottom. Front left bottom, but all the way over at 1. Okay. Add letters to the picture for during development. I think I'm gonna barely scrape by with my mental model. The next one is over here. So that's, now we're talking about the back. So that's the back left bottom. Back left bottom. Back is 1. Left bottom. Okay, the texture is 0. Now we're at row 0.75. That means the next one is the back right bottom. Back right bottom at 0.25. Okay, and then we go up to the top, so back right top. Yep, back right top. That makes sense to me. Back right top. At 0.5.75, right? Yes. And then over to the left. Over to the left. Back left top. Back left top. 0.75. And then down. So back left bottom. So this should be the same as this point. Back left bottom. Back left bottom. That's at 1 and 0.75. Okay. Only 2 more I have to do. Whew. Mental stretching. So this is the back left top then. It's the same point as this one, right? No, it's not. It's there's the grass in between, right? So back left top instead of front left top. So back left top is 0 and 1. And that means that this other one is the back right top. So back right up of 0.25 and 1. Okay. Those are the vertices. Now I just have to like define what are the indices of the top cubes, triangles. So I ordered them top to bottom, left to right to make it easier on myself. So if we're talking about the top, then I just need to draw two triangles on this thing, right? So like, what's one? That's 0, 1, 2, 3. That's this 4. Let's go 4, 5, and then whatever that one is, 4, 5 something. Oh no, I have to wind it a certain order, don't I? The 4 is something something plus 1. So if that's 4, then 5, 6, 7, 8. That's 9. 4, 9, 10. 4, 9, 10. 4, 9, 10, and then 10, 5, 4, right? Okay. So then let's draw the bottom. Same thing. So 0, 1. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 2, 7, 8. 2, 7, 8. That's one triangle, and then 8, 3, 2. Am I doing my math correct? Do I add 5? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think so. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because there are 5 along here, right? 2, and then 5, and then 5, and then 2. That's the bottom. Left side. Here's where I gotta like start tilting my head to envision this. This was the left side, right? Doesn't really matter the order of the triangles as long as they wind the correct direction. So I might actually end up winding it backwards if it wraps around, right? Or does it? No, it doesn't matter because it's just the outward face needs to be counterclockwise. So I can go in any order I want. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 6, 11, 12, I guess. 6, 11, 12. And then 12, 7, 6. Then the right side. So that's 0, 1, 2, 3 plus 5 is 8. 3, 8, 9. 3, 8, 9. And then 9, 10, 3. Right? No. 3, 4, 9, 4, 3. Front face. That's this one. So that's easy. 0, 2, 3, and then 3, 1, 0. Back face will be this one, right? 0, 1, 2 plus 5 is 7. So 7, 7, no. 0, 1, 2, that is 7, right? 7 plus 5, so 7, 12, 13? 7, 12, 13? You know what happens if I get these wrong, right? It just looks funny. I think Raymond made some sort of kind of robot. He keeps saying numbers. I'm extracting them from my mental model and then plugging them in here. So if I got it right now, we have the correct positions and texture coordinates. So we can verify the positions just by running this, right? Missing use texture. Oh, forgot that somewhere. Aha. Use texture comes from if we have if the model has texture stuff in it, right? So this stuff, right? It's that if that it is some. Oh, and then we need to convert that to a U32, right? Can I just do as U32? Is there bool to U32 conversion? That should just convert false to 0 and true to 1, right? This rate might have been faster to write an OBJ parser. Yeah, I'm sorry, spoof. Sometimes I do things in a weird way. I get locked into doing it a certain way, like, oh yeah, I'll just use my mental model of this. This I should be able to grasp, right? So maybe it's also sort of a exercise in like proving that I can still do it. Cannot return value referencing temporary. Temporary is at line 52. This one? Oh, it might be this. I think it's this. So I ran into this before. Um, how did I handle it? Down here, around here somewhere. I had to pre-calculate them. So const something you size. Yeah, so something like copy that, and then before we do all the borrowing, we do const something a usize equals that. So what is this? What's the naming convention I was using before? Something offset, and the something is the name, so it'd be use texture offset. All caps. And then I'd use that in place of here. See? Now it's happy. I have one other warning somewhere. This. Casting bool to U32 is more cleanly stated with U32 from. Okay. I will accept that, so try it. Here we go. So we're still not using the texture in the shader, but at least I can verify that I didn't screw up the vertex attribute order. And looks like I did because everything vanished. So, oh, because this vertex shader is getting things in the wrong slots now, right? Or am I wrong? I didn't change the ground and the ground vanished, so that means I must have screwed up. Something in the shader needs to change now, right? Let me think about that. Hopefully when we use the stride, when we set up the buffer, we write the attributes in, we use the correct stride, I hope. I should, while I'm at it, I should fix this repetition. So ground texture. We're just using some kind of null texture coordinates, so I can just replace all of these with that. Okay, where do I set up the actual buffer? That would be here in new somewhere, right? No. So where do I do it in the render? Hold on. Doesn't this have a texture or have a vertex buffer? It does. Where do I set that up? Oh, right here. Okay, so we don't actually have to say the stride, so it must have something to do with this description that we made. Oh, byte muck knows the stride of that. Okay, so that's not it. So maybe it is the shader. So let's just update the shader. That must be it because, well, no, shouldn't it just use the slots? Like, it doesn't really matter if I add a slot. We'll just do it. And then there's another location. Oh, the transform locations are all wrong. That's what it is. So I shouldn't need to do this yet. And I shouldn't need to do this yet. It's the transforms are all screwed up because their locations got bumped. That's probably what it is, right? So if I take that and I run that, the ground should reappear. So we're providing extra stuff to the shader, we're just not using it. But I moved the slots of the transforms. And looks like I screwed up my cube. Look at that. Look at that poor cube. Which face is messed up? Kind of hard to tell which one. Well, I royally screwed it. Did I get at least one face correct? I got one of the faces correct. To help me out, I think what I'll do is I will go and actually use distant colors here. So let's make like the top all red. So, oh, I'm gonna have to count though. And actually, no, I don't need to count. I shouldn't need to count if I still have grass thing. So let's make this side all the same color. So 0, 1, 2, and 3, all the same color. Okay. Actually, I can't make this face all one color and this face all a different color because they share two vertices, which means they share the same color. But I can try to. What can I do? It's gonna be too much effort. Why don't I just verify that I got all these correct? The 0, 1, 2, and 3 should be all in the front face, and they are. It should be like left top, left bottom, right bottom. That is. Okay. So then these ones should be bottom, left, right. So should the way we walk is from starting from the front left bottom, we go right, then we go up, then we go to the back, and then we go down. So starting from here. Wait, that's not right. 3, 3. Oh no, that is right. 0, 1. So this is back, left bottom, right. We go right, and then we go up, then we go. That's not right. That's the problem, right? This shouldn't change along two coordinates, so that's not right at all, I think. Right, up, and then it should go to the back, right? No. That's up here, so from there, you go to the left again. Left, and then down. Yeah, it goes up over this edge, right? It all stays on the front. 1, 2, so it goes right, up, left, down. Okay, it's good to hear. And this is the same thing, but on the other side. So this is the back, left, bottom. We go right, up, left, down. Back, left, bottom. We go right, up. Nope, that's wrong. We go left and then down. Oh, I skipped one though. Do I have not enough vertices? Let's see, 0, 1. Mark them. Okay, who told me to actually mark them before? And I ignored them. You were right and I was wrong. I think it was Enduran, I think, said to mark them with letters, and I should have done it. I'm marking them with numbers, but probably what I should do is, after I mark it, I should actually write in where I think it is in space. I don't think I have enough vertices. I think I skipped one somewhere. That's 13. That's not right. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yep, I'm missing one. This goes into a vertex that doesn't exist. So I missed one somewhere. So I think 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is correct. Actually, we should see from the texture which one I missed. So 0.5, right? 0.5, or 0.25, a quarter. Then we go down one, over, then down, over, over. Ah, we missed, I missed something. Quarter, another quarter. Oh, we missed 0.75. So I think this is actually vertex 11, which makes sense, right? Because here we moved two different coordinates at the same time. Okay, so we're missing vertex number 10. That's what we're missing. We're missing 10. What should it be? We know that this should be 7, 5, and that this should walk one of the coordinates. Which one? Number 10, which, see, what one is that? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, this one. So that's back, left, bottom, and we go right, up, left. So we go left from the previous. So left from here is negative 1, 1, 1. There we go. And then down. Okay. I fix it, hopefully. I don't know, this is exciting, even though it's sort of dumb. Oh no, it's still screwed up. But I don't think it's as screwed up as before. Yeah, there's just one triangle. It's that triangle. Oh, and actually we're looking through it. So I think I wound things backwards. Some of them. Yeah, I think they're wound backwards, and except for one triangle is completely invisible. Is it invisible, or are we seeing it? No, we're seeing it's wound the wrong way. Okay. So I got them wound wrong. Let me look how I set up. I think it's the pipeline. It tells me the winding direction. Under setup, right? Yeah, this one. Triangle list, front face is the counterclockwise. Counterclockwise. That's what I thought I did. I thought I did counterclockwise, but maybe I didn't do it right. Models. 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 9, 10, 4, 9, 10, 10, 5, 4. That's counterclockwise, right? Bottom. 2, 7, 8, 2, 7, 8, 8, 3, 2. Yeah, these are all winding counterclockwise. 6, 11, 12. Oh, no, that's not right. Which side are we doing? We're doing the left. So that's this one. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Should be 5. 5, 10, 11. 5, 10, 11. 11, 6, 5. Okay, right. 0, 1, 2, 3 plus 5 is 8. 3, 8, 9. Yep. Front 0, 2, 3. 0, 2, 3, 3, 1, 0. Back 7, 12, 13. 7, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Plus 2, 7, 7, 9, 10. No, 7, 8, 7 plus 5, 7, so 7, 12, 13. 13, 8, 7. Yeah, okay. I think that one triangle that I screwed up, I fixed, but I think for some reason the winding direction's wrong. Yeah, like it looks good, but it's like we're seeing the inside of the cube and not the outside of the cube. Right, we can tell because when it lands on the ground, now the ground is obscuring that face. Straight out of Minecraft? Just out of convenience. Hey there, Epic Unknown. Yeah, we're seeing the inside of the cube, not the outside right now. Why is that? I thought I was winding these counterclockwise in my mind. I think I'm just thinking about it backwards. So, shoot. So I guess I just reverse. If I reverse these triangles, it'll fix it, right? So to reverse them, the easiest way to reverse is to swap the first and third, right? So it'd be 10, 9, 4. And 4, 5, 10, right? 8, 2, 8, 2, 11, 5, 5, 11. Whoop. See, my cursor movement keys are the same keys as the number keys, only with different shift state. And the shift keys are overloaded with letter keys, so that's why sometimes I bounce around when I either mean to move the cursor or type a number. Okay. Not many Rust Minecraft clones. I had to pick some texture. Okay, that looked funny. How come they're all blue? What did I do to the... Why is it all blue? Where's my color? I'm reset. Whoa. Wait, what did I do? Oh, I unselected the cube by clicking away from it. Okay, why is it all blue? Not that I'm complaining. I like blue cubes, but why blue? Blue. Why blue? What'd I do to you, blue cube? Oh, because yeah, I manually hacked it out. Okay, so then it is correct, right? Well, we don't know for sure. There is one vertex that there are two vertices that shouldn't be blue. Are we just like lucky enough not to be seeing them? Or there's no 0 or 1? 0 and 1. The front face. Am I just like unlucky and I'm not seeing that face? What if I add lots of cubes? Okay, yeah, I'm just unlucky. I'm not seeing that non-blue. There's one face that is not blue, right? Okay, so let's just use the texture. Enough of using that color. In fact, what I really want to do is have a constant for the color. So that if we don't use a texture, it just uses a color, right? So means I'll have a cube color. And yeah, let's just make it blue because that's what we accidentally did. Right? So then all of these colors, just click that and then click Command Shift L, delete that part of it and then paste. All right, and then these are the oddballs that need to be manually adjusted. Okay, now they're all, and I can get rid of these markers. Let's not get rid of them yet. Something Eiffel 65. So these should be all blue. A ton of blue cubes. Now let's texture them. So it's all work in the shader, right? Right, because we're now providing the shader with the texture coordinates. Text chord, texture coordinates. And then we also have a uniform here. Oh, this is vector 2, by the way. This is use texture. Because if it's the ground, we don't want to use the texture, right? U32. Okay, so those are the inputs. They're updated now. Now in the vertex shader, I think we just want to pass through both things. So we want to add another position for the text coordinates. And that's a vector 2. So we want to say out.text chords equals model.text chords. All right. Oh, shoot. I just realized something. This use texture is in the vertex instance uniform, so we really want it to be with the fragment shader. I really want to have fragment instance uniforms. I don't know how to do that yet, so I'm just going to cheat. We're just going to pass through that flag to every single fragment because we can. So that means we'll have a location 2 called use shader, use texture. That's a u32. Means I need to say out.use texture equals uniforms use texture. Okay, so then we get if in.use texture something, otherwise do something else. And here's where we need to go back to the tutorial to see how do we use textures. Get down to where they use it, do it in the shader. Or they do it in the shader, probably near the bottom. Shader time. Okay. So the texture coordinates, right? How do we get the, there's the texture and then the sampler, right? How do we get those in? Okay, that's how we do it. We have a group binding. Copy this. Toggle bit. Thank you for the raid. Toggle bit, you have to go? So soon? You need food? Okay. Enjoy the food. Let's run this. I can show you guys what I'm doing. You've probably seen this before if you've been watching Togglebit's stream when he raided me before. But just in case you haven't, I'm playing around with some Rust libraries that do graphics and user interface work. So we have these sliders courtesy of egui. And we have buttons we can press. And then in the background, we're drawing some graphics. I'm trying to get the texture working for these cubes. They're going to use a familiar looking texture that I am borrowing. You may recognize that texture. And we're trying to draw that texture on top of these cubes, right? So I'm just playing around with libraries in Rust that have to do with graphics and physics engines. So yeah, we can give these things have a simulated little world that they fall around in. So I'm working on the shader right now to the fragment shader specifically, because if we're using a texture, we have to return a color by sampling the texture. Otherwise, we're using a fixed color, which is what we're doing for the ground. Minecraft grass, yes. Yes, I'm using rapier. Yep. You got it. It is a fast 2D and 3D physics engine for the Rust programming language. Yeah. So I'm following this tutorial. If you would like to follow along, it's shader time. Yeah, so they suggest that I declare the binding that I use in the fragment shader, which I think is a swell idea. They call it diffuse. I don't know why. Let's just call this texture, and we'll call this sampler. Unless I can't use type names, in which case probably we can't use type names. So let's say nifty texture and nifty sampler, because why not? I have to name it something. Let's put a space where the space belongs. Okay, how do we use our nifty texture and sampler? We return texture sample of our nifty texture using our nifty sampler using the text chords that we were given. And we're going to return that. Let's see if it works. Be super lucky if it worked first try. Hey there, cat peasant. Trying to texture my cubes. Nope, we crashed. How hard did we crash? We panicked on the shader is wrong. It doesn't like that expression texture. So does it because it's capitalized? How did that happen? The tutorial says to capitalize it. What did it not like about that? It's invalid. Required uniformity of control flow fulfilled because of the expression. Required uniformity of control flow for implicit level that is not fulfilled because of expression 1. What's expression 1? I don't know what it's trying to tell me. Did you ever set the uniforms? Yep. It's uniformity of control flow makes me think that this type is not the same as that type, which is possible. Vector 4 F32 is what the text sampler should give me, right? My in color, what is that? It's also the same types. Vector 4 F32. So that's the vertex output. Where is my oh, it's the same type, vertex output. Because your branch condition is per fragment variable. Per fragment variable. Is that bad? Neighboring pixels can take different branches. Really? That's the problem? So, you know, I can hold on, let me think about this. What happens if we sample from a well, so can I do something like this? Texture color. And now the sampler doesn't have to do with the per fragment variable. Just the selection of color. Will it be okay with that? So maybe I do need to put it into a uniform. Yep. Still didn't like it. Oh, no, it could work. It's just not a Boolean scalar. If it is not equal to 0. One fixes use a texture sampling function that explicitly takes the LOD level as input. I'm just gonna it's gonna give me an invalid color if we're not supposed to use it, but that's okay because we'll branch to the else. But it has some other problem. Expression 8 is invalid. Not equal can't work with 6 and 7. What is this 6 and 7? Can't work. Can't work. There's a good Naga error crate to make those error messages better. Yeah, like if it told me what's 6 and 7, is that's 6 and then that's 7? Can I do like greater than? Because that is a U32, right? We're gonna use texture into a uniform fix it. You can try 0u30. Oh, is it the literal doesn't have a type? We'll try that. Yeah, the cleaner solution would be to make it a fragment shader uniform. I just don't have a buffer for the fragment shader uniforms. I guess that's not the right syntax. Do I need like an underscore? I tried it, Raymarch. It doesn't like that. Unless maybe I need parentheses. Extra parentheses, how could I? It just doesn't like that 32. How about just 0u? Oh, it got further. It got further. What did it have trouble with this time? Error matching shader fragment. Shader requires against the pipeline. Binding is not available. Missing. Oh, I think it's getting into the shader and sampling it, and there's no group or binding. So I think, yeah, we have to do the correct solution and make this a uniform. So, okay, we'll do it. Yeah, I had to figure out how to make uniform. Is it just the same way? Can I just say like we have fragment uniforms? And then we would make a fragment uniforms. I'm just guessing here. Fragment uniforms, remove this. This moves to, I don't know what location we'd use. I guess it would be 3 because, no, it would be 2 because this location, well, we're not using that anymore, right? So it would just be that. Really be better to describe it like this. I'm guessing this, because this is vertex output and this fragment uniform gets location 2, and then we would just say if uniforms that, and then I guess I can go back to doing this, right? Since it's uniform. It's just now I have to change. I'm just guessing that's what I have to do. I have to change how we set up this stuff, right? So back in models, vertex attributes, and then where's my uniform buffer? Here it is. So I'm guessing that I need to do a similar kind of description. Paste. So this will be like fragment uniforms. Aren't impenetrable shader compiler errors traditional? Don't know. WGSL has abstract int data types which are similar to Rust literals that are not yet typed. Alternatively, you can use a texture sample grad, calculate just a UV gradient outside of. Yeah, that sounds really complicated. Just for context, your solution is current solution is better. You mean making it a fragment uniform like it should have been, right? Did I remove it from the? I did not. Let's remove it. So there is no texture. Use texture offset. There's no slot there. So that moves down to, well, actually I already had it there. So I'm guessing it's a fragment buffer layout. There's such a thing? No. So I guess I'll look at the tutorial then. Problem is that they don't show how to make a fragment uniform buffer. Maybe they do in uniform buffers. Uniform buffer. All data available to every invocation of a set of shaders. Already used uniforms. And to use them again to store a view projection matrix. Okay. Okay, so it's a different kind of thing, right? It's a different kind of bind group. And oh, I remember this, right? So the visibility would be fragment. So how do I describe it? I have to describe the buffer somewhere, right? Wait, what? I'm missing something, aren't I? Like, this has a matrix in it, right? So how do you tell the shader what slots it's in and stuff like that? Or do I need to? Sure, I know I need to do that. Okay. Binding 0, type buffer, uniform, has dynamic offset. Okay. Where do I describe the contents of it? Sure, bind group, pipeline layout. Wait, it just figures it out? I don't have to actually. Oh, because it's not per index. Yeah. So okay, as entire binding create bind group. I was looking at that create bind group, but I don't see any description of like. So you don't have to describe the contents of the buffer. Like you don't have to say that there's a 4x4 matrix there. Oh, it's hidden here. You're saying camera buffer as entire binding. Well, that's the whole structure. That's not the contents of the structure. Is it just saying treat it like a blob? Treat. What is the thing? What is camera buffer? Camera buffer is what? It's just the whole buffer. So we don't have to describe the contents of the buffer other than casting it. Is that the idea? Okay, well that makes it simpler. So I don't have to have this description thing, right? We don't need to describe it at all. It doesn't need a description. So I just have just have it. Just a U32. Easy peasy. I just need to make it, right? Okay. So it's an additional buffer, right? That I like to do these backwards. So this so we'd have it here. Like fragment uniform buffer. So fragment form buffer. There we go. I like to do it backwards, like describe it there and then I can chase the error message. The error message is going to be here that we need to have one. So let's make one. Make one around the same time we make these. So it would be like this. Device. Create buffer. We'll have to fill it later. You have to have a buffer descriptor. Label some fragment uniform buffer. Size. They do it with init, right? But they must update it at some point, right? Where do they show like where they need to update it? Using it. Yeah, but where do they update it? Here we go. Update. Okay, but where do they copy it back in? Sense update write. So they just do a write buffer. Got it. Okay, well, I think we just need to do like standard mem size of. How does this work again? Use turbofish. Fragment uniforms. It has to be a U64. Usage. Buffer usages. Copy destination and uniform, right? I got that right. That was way the heck up here where they do a great buffer in it. Way up here, way up here. Uniform copy destination. Got it right. Mapped at creation is false, right? Okay, so we made the buffer. Now we have to actually put it into the whatchamacallit when we render. Yeah, so this needs to move, right? So we need let. It doesn't have anything to do with the model instances. It just has to do with the model, right? So let fragment equal fragment uniforms. Use texture, and then I'm just going to copy from here, right? Delete the rest of that. Paste up here. Okay, and then I just need to like copy it in. So that's this thing, right? QWrite buffer. And that's where do we get the per instance buffer? From the model. Okay, so model fragment uniform buffer. 0 byte cast slice from fragment uniforms. Easy. Not easy. Oh, is it just one thing? How does that work? Oh, it's just not cast slice, it's cast or something, right? What is it? Copy one thing. I mean, I guess I can do that. This is not right. That's it? Okay. I feel like I'm not supposed to be casting a slice, you know? I mean, I guess I technically am. It's a slice of size 1 fragment uniforms to a slice of bytes that are in that. But I kind of want to go from one thing to a slice. Do they have a version of that? It's like from a non-slice to a slice. That casts a T into a U, but I want to go from a T to a slice of U. it probably one of these, right? Like try. That's the wrong way. I need to go like 2 bytes or something, right? If it compiles, it's right. I mean, one of these, right? Bytes of? Oh, there we go. I want bytes of. Bytes of. That's more correct, right? Because then I don't need that. Ooh, look at that. All right. So I didn't make a bind group though. I need to do that. Review. Where did they do that? I made it. Okay. So where we make these group layouts, we'll just make one for the uniform. And because I'm lazy, I'm just going to copy what they have and change it. Is this the right place? I think it is. That's the texture group. Okay, so we do it here, right? So this is the fragment uniforms. Bind group. So create it. It's those with an entry. I needed to go to the fragment shader. Binding. All these wgpu things don't need to be here. Uniform, no dynamic offset, no min binding size. This is some. What's the convention? The convention is putting the label first before the entries. Not convention, it's just to be consistent. And I was capitalizing this. So this is fragment uniforms. Buffer. Okay, so then I need to actually use it. So I think we're passing it into all of these, right? That one and this one too. Because it goes into both pipelines. So down here, this is another bind group layout that we'll use in all 3 places because it's common. Actually, it's not common. So it goes in here, right? The bind group layouts. No, we need a separate bind group. That's with the pipeline. What about the layout though? We have the layout, and sure, we use the layout to make a group, but don't we have to put it into the pipeline? Oh, here we go. So we just added to the bind group layouts. Maybe the order matters. Sure. Layouts. So they would just go here, right? Whoops. Okay, pasted way too much there. There we go. So now we have 2 of them there, and it needs to be here as well. There we only have 1 bind group layout because it doesn't have the texture bind group anymore. Is that going to be a problem because the group index will be different, or did I put the group index in here, right? Shouldn't that binding be like 1? They made it binding 0, so maybe it doesn't matter. Because it's in a different area. It's not in the same place. I don't know. They have a texture bind group. I forgot what binding number they used. Oh, that's within the entries. So never mind. The group itself doesn't have a number, does it? Or does the order in here matter? I don't know. Let's see what they do. Oh, it does matter. So that number has to match. So when we do set bind group, we need to make sure it's group 1 if we have a texture, otherwise it's group 0. So you know what, to make this easier on myself, since the texture bind group is the one we might not have, we'll make that 1 if it exists. Otherwise the fragment uniforms is always group 0. Okay, so then we render. That's where we give the pipeline. Where did we create the bind groups? I forgot. Was that in the app? Here? Redraw? In draw, right? Draw models. Yeah. No, it's in here. It is here. Here it is. Bind group, right? So this is group 1. We have to make a bind group 0 for where we're going to put this model dot fragment uniforms. So I need to make a fragment uniforms bind group within the model. Model is, where are you? Here. We didn't have a, oh, we did have a bind group for texture stuff, so it's a bind group. All right, a bind group. We need to actually fill it in now. So that happens here, right? What's the time? 8:28. Okay, it's coming down to the wire. I gotta finish within like the next 15 minutes. So we made the buffer, so we have to make the bind group. So let's make the bind group. Where is it? Here it is. This thingy. There. Right, bind group. Bind group descriptor is that it has a certain layout, which we have, right? Where's the layout? Well, we'll find where it is. This is the fragment uniforms. And wait, they actually have to have the, oh, it's the buffer. We have that, right? Do we? We'll have to pass that in actually. I actually need to have the buffer ready here. Oh, it's right here. And this is the fragment uniforms. That's an S there. Bind group. Okay, so all is not well though, because we need to, new has to be given the actual bind group of the uniforms. So actually, I had to, or let's make the order consistent. It's fragments go first, and then there's a texture bind group, right? Okay, so back in the app, right here, it needs to go there. So we need to have it there. Where do we make it? Oh, it's something that's in the render. So I need to just grab it too. So we're borrowing it. Actually, I don't know if it'll let me do this because we're borrowing from the model. No, we're borrowing immutably, so it should be fine, right? So fragment bind fragment uniforms bind group layout. Long name. Public function of that immutable borrow of self gives us a bind group layout. And hopefully I have it stored there. If not, we'll have to put it there. Right, there it is. No, it's not there. We don't have it. We have to add it. Find group layout. That's so much setup we have to do. You know? This is like, I know it's for a good purpose, but yeah, this is just a lot of work. Okay, so we have it there. Good. So I've connected all the dots. The app still has a problem though. What is it? Oh, the ground also needs the fragment uniforms bind group layout. Okay, we have one warning in models. Warning is that that's already a borrow. Okay, so we don't need that. Okay, and then I didn't change the shader. I didn't finish changing the shader, did I? This is the wrong group, right? That's group 1 now. Right? Because the fragment uniforms are group 0. Think? How does it know that the uniforms are group 0 though? How does it know? Let's look at shader time again. Shader time, where are you? Shader time, here we go. Oh, I do have to have a... Oh, right, it's not a parameter to the shader. It's just a group. Okay, yeah. So there are 2 groups. Yes, I knew this. I knew it. So var uniform, uniforms, I guess, or fragment uniforms, F uniforms, FS uniforms. I like that. And then the type is fragment uniforms. Does that mean that is not a 2? I don't need to have a location. That's the answer, because it's it's a blob. It just is there. It doesn't need to be right. So we only need locations if it comes as a vertex attribute, right? And these aren't really uniforms. They were per instance vertex attributes. Okay, it makes sense to me now. It's all coming together. So there's my group 0, binding 0, fragment uniforms. So FS uniforms instead of being a parameter. So then it's FS uniforms use texture. Okay, let's try it. If it compiles, it's right. That's right, epic unknown. Oh, this is gonna crash so hard, isn't it? Yeah, it's gonna crash. Okay, what did I do wrong? Valid accessor. Oh, right, that doesn't exist anymore. We no longer get the use texture flag there. Right, okay, try again. Right down to the wire because I have 10 minutes left and it's panicking still. Okay, what is it? Error matching shader stages, fragment shader requirements against the pipeline. Group 1 is not available in the layout pipeline. Binding is missing from the pipeline layout. Okay, that gives us a hint. There's group 1 in the pipeline layout. Oh, did I bind it to group 0? In the pipeline layout. Layout. Pipeline layout. Where was that? That was down in the renderer for models. Pipeline layout. Make render pipeline. Where's the layout though? Here's the layout. So I had to have something there, even if I don't use it. I guess because we declare it, we have to have it. Or is it that the pipeline, where do I actually set the pipeline up? Done in here, right? Here it is. Layout, some render pipeline layout. Is it that I'm missing buffers here? Oh, that's not it. The fragment shader. I think I am missing something here. It it seems to me like it's saying that the group one, which is down here, not available. So just as an experiment, what if we like just pretend we don't need a group one and we just ignore this, right? So sure. What happens now? Is it happy now, or is it in the CPU side? Okay, so it is in the shader. The shader has the problem that even if we didn't use the uniform, even if we didn't use the texture, we still need to have something bound, apparently. Um, so then, would I have two different fragment shaders then? In which case I wouldn't need a uniform, would I? So am I going about this whole wrong way? If I have to have group one bound to something, I didn't have to have this group bound before though, did I? This didn't need to be bound before, so that makes me feel like I'm missing something in the setup. I was just thinking like another way to do this would be to have two fragment shaders, one that actually uses a group one and one that doesn't use group one, right? So I could have like an FS main and a FS main two, and one of them just does that and the other one does that, and then we don't need to use the uniform anymore. Why do I have two semicolons? I don't know. But it would be nice to have just one shader and then like be able to switch it. So it's here somewhere, right? No, it's not there. I mean, I guess we could just create it with that bind group. Well, no, but when I use it, it's going to complain that I didn't bind anything to it. So the problem is it's going through here, right? And so we can see if it actually works with by commenting out the ground again. So if I don't actually draw the ground, will this not crash now? Because now both bindings should be bound, and nope, it's still wrong. So I'm setting up something wrong for group one. Binding is missing from the pipeline layout. Oh, did I forget to actually bind group one? I think that was it. So put that back in there. The render, when it actually renders raw, right? We have to set the bind group one, and I never did that. That's what it was. No, I'd set it right here. But it says, okay, it's not missing from the render pass. It's panicking exactly where. Let's do this with the backtrace on. Probably not when it's drawing, but when I'm setting things up. When it's validating the shader? Yeah, it's when I'm creating the render pipeline. Why is it omitted? Verbose, please. That seems like something new. Like it usually gave me all this junk before, but now it. I wonder if they added something in Rust to make it like a non-verbose output. Oh, I got 3 minutes. Right here, right? How come it's not giving me the line number? Oh, I know why. Because I'm doing release build. And optimized away. Okay, while it builds, let me think about this. If it's in the new, binding 0, binding 1, binding 0 there. And then we make one. I guess it's failing in here. It's like not matching in here somehow. I want to know exactly where it's crashing. Why? Right here. Right here. Line 283. 298? $298. So this call is crashing. Rate render pipeline. Okay, so it sees in the shader that we have a. Oh, I think what it is. I think I know what it is. When we describe it, we have to describe that it might be there, so that we always have to describe it here. Yeah. So this when we so we always have to pass this. Oh, I didn't do this before though. Okay, I'm a little bit confused because I'm pretty sure I didn't have to do this. This is going to make the same thing, isn't it? It's going to be exactly the same now. This is what I didn't want. What I didn't think I needed to have. Why do I need it now? I can only think it's the differences between it's a texture, it's a fragment shader versus a vertex shader thing. So that means, yeah, I have to pass the texture bind group format even to the one where we don't have a texture. Oh wait, did I get the arguments order screwed up? No, it's texture and then. Okay. I'll just try this. Just wondering if the drawing the ground will crash now because it doesn't have a texture. In that case, I think the only solution is to have two different shaders. Oh, what's the error? Incompatible with the bind group layout associated with bind group at 1? Group is incompatible with its layout. Let me see if it has. That's during drawing, right? I can just comment out the ground and see if it at least works. Yeah, so let's comment out the ground. That would be true. I'm not actually binding anything. So if this is true, then the only solution I can think of, which I don't know why didn't have to do it before, but it would be to have two different shaders, one for textured and one for not, and then I don't need the fragment uniforms anymore. Yeah, that's what it is. My cube is still not being drawn right. It's all black. Didn't load the texture. Oh, I never wrote it to the text. I never wrote it. In the first, I'm missing that, right? The right buffer? Yeah, I never actually filled it. So let's do that. It would be here. It would be right here, actually. The texture is going to be the same for the whole model. So that it would be cute. It would be, yep. We need to write the actual image in here, don't we? Does the render actually have... The render has the model. The model has the texture stuff. Oh, we never actually stored the texture, did we? Yeah, where do we actually load that stuff? Image file contents, right? And then what did we do with it? Oh, we never actually did anything with it. We have the texture here. We created it. We made a view into it. Ah, I never actually loaded it. So to load it, we need a queue. Do we have a queue at this point? No, but we could get one. We have a queue at this point, right? Yeah, I have a queue. So I can just pass the queue to model load. And we can just load it right in, right? So we need a queue here. Go to new, add a queue. And we load it right here, right? Import wgpu queue. So yeah, if we actually get the image buffer, then we're gonna load from that, right? How did they load it? Textures and bind groups. So they have this texture, they loaded it. They got us dimensions, they created it. Where did they get it in? Here it is. Whoops, too much. So I just missed this part. There. So texture is this texture. The actual pixel data is image buffer. The bytes per row, that's dimension 0 is width and dimensions 1 is height. What's texture size? Texture size, where are you? That's the size we gave the texture descriptor. Oh, okay, so we should just let texture size equal that, because it's a more complicated structure, and then that there. Whoops, not there. Right there. Am I overtime? I'm overtime. I have a meeting in exactly 7 minutes, but I feel like I'm really close to at least showing the cubes, if not the ground. We'll have to fix the ground next time. Where's the error? Where is it? There. And okay, I got a warning, but we're gonna go with it. It's all gonna look upside down crazy, isn't it? We'll have some fun bugs to fix tomorrow. No, it's all white. Well, we loaded something. It's white. Not well, at least it's not black. It's white now. It didn't load the texture right, I guess. Okay, hey there, E5 filter. I'm completely out of time because I got a meeting with someone in like less than 8 minutes. So yeah, we got some bugs to fix. So I can't draw the ground right now because I couldn't figure out how to skip binding. Oh, why is this not saved? Could that be a problem? I had an unsaved file the whole time. Don't tell me that that's what it was. No, that wasn't it. Okay. Anyway, what was the change that I made there? That needed to be done. Did that get... That didn't get erased, did it? Oh, maybe that was it. No, that's not it. Okay, anyway, I don't know what the bug is. The problem I ran into at the end was that we have this binding for a texture, but we only use the texture if this flag is set to true. It didn't like me defining it, but not actually binding anything to it for a pipeline where I knew I wouldn't need it. But I guess it sort of makes sense because it doesn't know until runtime if it's going to need it. So the solution, I guess, is to make another fragment shader that just does texture sampling, another one that just does a fixed color. So yeah, we'll fix this tomorrow. I gotta go though. Okay, wrong button. Okay, we're gonna raid Tim. So let me click there, and then we go back here and click this, and then click that, and then click that button. Hope you enjoyed watching today. I'm sorry I didn't get the texture painting working, but that just gives me more work to do tomorrow, right? So we'll be back tomorrow to do it. Take care, enjoy Tim's stream, all right? See you later, guys. Bye.